Junk. I'm the Notorious JIM, and I want to talk to you about the trailer for X-Men Days of Future Past. But before I get to that, I want to discuss a few things that I didn't have a chance to make a video on yet. One of them being the recent episode of The Walking Dead. Now, the recent episode of The Walking Dead actually showed Tyrese do something for a change, actually get involved. And I refer to the episode as Hammer Time because he was kicking a lot of ass with his hammer. And if you're familiar with the comic book, which I hate saying that, but of course I have to say it. If you're familiar with the comic book, that's his weapon of choice. And they did something similar to what they did in the comic book with a zombie power-up, which they did actually inside the prison for the comic book within this episode in a more believable way. And it was a cool way of showing he's a badass. He can hold his own if he has to, and it really built up the character a little more. And it showed that he can actually be aggressive. So I really enjoyed what they did with Tyrese. Finally, they did something with him. They progressed the storyline a little more, and they actually showed Carol as the person who was actually killing people and burning the bodies. So that was a fucking plot twist. I mean, I didn't see that coming, but it's better than what they eventually did do with her in the comic book. I just hate going back to that, mentioning the comic book every time I do a review of the Walking Dead episodes, but they're so different, yet they're so alike that you have to actually compare the two sometimes. And I know people who read the comic who hate the show. I know people who've read the comic books and don't really care for the comic books, but they love the show. I, for one, love what they did with the governor a lot better on the show than they did with the comic book, but that's just my personal opinion. But I think this episode was a really good push forward. The second movie I wanted to talk about is Captain America Winter Soldier, which they released a trailer for that as well. The first movie was actually a period piece themed around a superhero, which I think was pretty interesting. And now the second movie is more of a political thriller or action thriller, espionage thriller, I guess. And it's more in tune with, I can say, James Bond, the way it looks and the way it plays off. But it's based around a superhero. I love the Captain America films. I love the first one because it was basically a war film for the first one. This is more updated, and it shows Captain America's out of his element, and he's doing things a little differently, and I love the fact that they pushed it forward. Only problem with the Captain America movie that I don't like, the new one, is they went for the first Captain America to Avengers, now Captain America Winter Soldier. And the problem with that is now he's been in the current world, basically, in the Avengers, and being in the current world in the Avengers, we don't get a chance to see him adapt to his surroundings. You know, I would have loved to see him just adapt to smartphones and adapt to things that are around him that he's not used to. The new technology he never dreamed would ever be here. But we won't get a chance to actually truly see that. We may get a little something every once in a while in the new movie, but basically he's already established. He's already been in this time for quite a bit of time. So he actually learned what's going on and knows what's going on. So it's not much of a discovery for him. But I would like to see him actually discover small little things like tweeting and Facebook. I think it would be kind of funny to see Cap tweet Tony Stark something, or like retweet him or whatever. I think it would be kind of funny, or just texting or so. Just small little devices. Just him getting his hands on that and actually have a field day with it. I think it'd be kind of funny, but that's just me. But the trailer, oh my God, it was fucking amazing, fucking amazing. And it made the Winter Soldier look like such a badass, which I'm really excited about because he is such a badass, and a lot of people don't know about him. And he's not really used as much, I think, in Marvel as you would like him to be. But he's a Captain America villain. They actually went with a Captain America villain and made him a badass, unlike what they did with Iron Man 2, which is with Whiplash, and not really. I guess they made him look really cool, but they kind of just finished him off at the very end like he's a bitch. So I feel that the fight between the Winter Soldier and Captain America is going to be really awesome. The back and forth with it is going to be really awesome. The fact that Captain America is actually adjusting to the fact that S.H.I.E.L.D. does things a lot different than the way he did things back then. It's a great concept to see him deal with, and I'm looking forward to the movie. I'm really looking forward to Captain America, even more than I am Thor. I loved the first Captain America more than I loved any Marvel movie up to Avengers, to be honest, because he was just a simple guy. I think he got fucked over in Avengers, and they kind of had a bit of background. They had Black Widow making up for the bullshit she did in Iron Man 2, basically being useless in that and just being eye candy. by making her a useful character in Avengers, and I felt a lot of stuff that she did in Avengers should have went to Captain America. So he didn't have a chance to shine in Avengers as much as he should have. So seeing him shine now in his own movie again, and actually beat Captain America and jump out of a fucking airplane with no parachute, it's awesome. I can't wait to see him kick ass again. He doesn't need superpowers. Just minor super strength is fine enough. Captain America out of the way. Fucking shield right there. Alright, and the next thing I want to talk about, of course.
What's the last thing you remember? I had a glimpse into the past. You're going to have to do for me what I once did for you. You'll need me as well. Side by side to end this war. Before it ever begins.
So, I wake up in my younger body, and then what?
Find me. Convince me of all of this. It's going to take the two of us.
And where do I find you?
A different path. A darker path. Logan, I was a very different man. Lead me. Guide me. Be patient with me.
Patience isn't my strongest suit.
I don't want your suffering. I don't want your future.
Please. We need you to hope again.
As badass as that trailer is, I still have problems with it. Well, I mainly have problems with its director. I just don't trust Bryan Singer. I just do not trust him. The first X-Men movie, a lot of people loved it, and now it doesn't hold up. I felt at the time of release, the movie wasn't as good. That's just my personal opinion. I actually did feel like it was a good X-Men movie, but it wasn't a great X-Men movie. It could have been so much better. I felt, okay, we got an X-Men movie. We never thought we'd ever get an X-Men movie at that time, but it wasn't enough. You know, I felt it lacked a lot, and he made up with X2. I feel X2 is such a good movie. A lot of people hold on to it possibly being one of the best X-Men movies because X-Men 1 was so mediocre. That's how I feel. So, he did X-Men. He did X-Men 2. Of course, we know he stepped away for a while. It fucked up another franchise. And then now he's back. He's back doing Days of Future Past. And I feel like we've progressed past what he's doing. We progressed past the black suits, which he brought back in the trailer. I noticed that. Because he put zero effort into any kind of research on X-Men. I know for a fact he did watch the cartoon. He mentioned that as being, you know, his drive to actually do the first movie. But he just did not care about the franchise. I truly feel Bryan Singer does not give a shit about X-Men. He doesn't. And I feel the only reason he stepped up this time with the new trailer, as you can see, with some of the things he's done in the movie, was because of the last movie. So basically, I feel other directors that came in did a pretty decent job. We ended up getting, you know, First Class, which is a pretty good movie. I think it's probably the best X-Men movie. We got the Wolverine, not X-Men Origins Wolverine, but we got the Wolverine, which is pretty cool. There was another director doing something totally different with the character and making it work. A lot of people didn't like the fact that it didn't have as much action, but it showed he could actually build up a character. So other directors have taken on the X-Men franchise. Some of them kind of failed, or at least they tried different things. But Bryan Singer, I don't feel he cares. I truly don't feel he cared. And just another thing that's funny about the trailer is if you look at when you look at the credits they give him, it says for the director of X-Men, which they have to say that because it's an X-Men film. He directed the first movie, and of course you want to throw out the fact, hey, we got the first director to do this movie as well, so it's going to be more on par with what he's done before. So they throw out that for the director of X-Men, but the next thing they throw out, and the usual suspects. Now the thing about that makes me laugh is they throw out X-Men to link it to the franchise, because that's what he's doing currently. And then they throw out a movie he did in fucking 1995, which means he's done current movies, but those movies have been so bad they referenced a fucking movie from the 90s. Really? And this is what they're passing this franchise off to him again. Seriously. They're ashamed to mention anything he's done in the 2000s, yet they give him this franchise. And that's just ridiculous. Another thing about the trailer that I actually liked, I kind of realized, I kind of made fun of a little with some of my friends, is you notice the song in the background and the way it's set up is very similar to Man of Steel, or as you may know it, the Superman movie that Zack Snyder directed and Bryan Singer did not direct.
You will give the people an ideal to strive towards. They will race behind you. They will stumble. They will fall. But in time, they will join you in the sun. In time, you will help them accomplish wonders.
And we all know how that movie turned out, right? The one that he directed. And we all know how the Zack Snyder movie turned out. Now, the Zack Snyder movie had the same premise of showing emotion and being very closed off and dramatic. And then we actually see the movie compared to the trailer, which was more focused on emotion. You saw it was more based on action because he just leveled fucking cities in that movie. He just It just destroyed Metropolis. Fuck. I mean, the amount of damage in that fucking movie is ridiculous. So I'm assuming that X-Men may have the same thing going on. I feel like they went for emotion with this trailer to sell the emotion, but I also feel that when we finally see the finished product, it's going to be basically just an action movie, action oriented. I want it to be as good as First Class. I really want it to be as good as First Class, but the black suits again, that shit's in it again. Now, I don't know if anyone from First Class wears their First Class outfits because they didn't show any of that in the trailer. At least I didn't see that. But as far as the future goes, the future, we just lost colors, basically. Everything's back to black. And it just feels generic at certain points. You know, I feel like there are actors who are carrying this movie. I feel he has a great cast, and I feel he's going to just basically ruin it. Especially, even the Sentinels, for example. Part 3 actually showed a Sentinel for a brief moment. It was just a fucking hologram, you know, in a danger room. But that was fine. You know, we saw a Sentinel head. We didn't see a full body. We saw outline of a full body, but we saw a fucking head. And nerves, we lost our shit after just seeing that. And that was fine for us. Now I'm seeing pictures of the Sentinels. And it just, like why? Why change it? I mean, concept art. They do concept art for movies. When they have artwork already done, why not just copy that and add on to it and change it a little? Why make it your own? Just fucking do it. Just fucking take what's already there, that's already designed for you, and just fucking do it. I don't understand why he has to change everything. Maybe it's not his fault. Maybe it isn't. But I feel as a director, he needs to put a little bit more into his fucking movies he make. A little bit more input as a director. I also feel like, as a lot of people say, they love Bryan Singer. They're happy he's back. But I feel he's solely responsible for the gambit we got in X-Men Origins Wolverine. Because as a lot of fans complain about Gambit not being in the original movies, the first three movies, it was Bryan Singer who did not want Gambit in the first three movies. In fact, the studio was trying to put Gambit in the movies. He kept shooting it down. He did not want Gambit in the movie because he didn't want to start some kind of love triangle or whatever the fuck he was trying to do. He wanted the main focus to be Wolverine is the macho character of the group. He's the main person. He didn't want another person taken away from that, or like a dick measuring contest between Gambit and Wolverine. So he left Gambit out of the film franchise intentionally, not because of fans, because fans wanted Gambit, but because he didn't give a shit about X-Men. I just feel that way. I feel he totally does not give a shit about the franchise. And it's just a payday for him. It really is. He may care a little. These are characters he helped bring to life. This is the world he helped bring to life. But people have done it better than him. They have. It's proven. They've done it better than him. So we don't need him. We don't. I don't know why Fox keeps running back to him, but we do not need Bryan Singer. And it's just my personal hate for him. And I know a lot of fanboys will probably dumb this video down or even not even pay any fucking mind at all. But I don't give a shit what you feel about him with what he did with X-Men 2. Whole thing is, if it wasn't for him starting off X-Men in such a mediocre way, we wouldn't have had this slope of just bullshit X-Men movies until we got to First Class. That's just the way it is. It would have been a higher standard of movie making all the way up to First Class. It would have been. But it was mediocre. And oh man, I just don't understand fanboys when it comes to Bryan Singer. I really don't. I don't understand how, for example, let's compare Supermans for a moment. I've already done this on our blog already, but let's compare Supermans for a moment. You got Zack Snyder's Superman, which everyone shits on. They feel like if they don't like the movie, they feel that it's Zack Snyder's fault. If they love the movie, they feel it was Christopher Nolan's idea, or it was Christopher Nolan behind it. It's never Zack Snyder for some reason. People just shit on him, even though he gave us possibly the best Watchmen we could have gotten. He just hate for Zack Snyder for some reason. But Bryan Singer leaves out characters that he doesn't give a shit about, that he doesn't care what the fans want, and basically just does whatever he wants with his characters, and like use Superman in a way that we don't want to see him, because that's the way he wants to see Superman. That's the way he wants to portray Superman. You know, damn doing anything new with the character. Let's just do a clone of what he liked, Richard Donner, which I can understand that as a fan. You would want to capture Richard Donner. But I waited years for being a kid to watch the original Superman movies. Years and years waiting for like a new Superman movie, from Batman versus Superman from the 90s or early 2000s that didn't happen. From basically the reboot with Superman Lives and the horrible Superman flyby script and all that. I'm waiting for it. Waiting for a new Superman with the new technology we have. I had to settle with Smallville for so long, which you only settle for Smallville for X amount of time before you eventually quit the show, then come back to it later on down the line in life. And I got Superman Returns. Really? That's what you give me? You know what? Fuck you, Bryan Singer. You know what? There's one thing I actually have to say about the trailer that I really loved a lot, though. That final scene between Xavier and Xavier, Patrick Stewart he said that line so perfectly. I mean, oh my God, he said it, and it brought man tears to this bearded gentleman. It did. It brought man tears to me, almost. And I just loved it. I just loved it. Every time I watched the trailer so far, two things I noticed. One thing is the jump cut between conversation with Wolverine to Wolverine screaming, which seems very out of place for some reason. I've noticed that every time I've watched it, and I noticed the final line. That final line, it just cuts to me. You know, it's like ugh. And I think it really brings out the emotion. It really gives me hope that this is going to really be a good movie. So after bashing Bryan Singer like I just did, because I have a personal hate for him, because you know what you fucking did to Superman. You know what you fucking did. But after bashing him, I do have to say that I'm really looking forward to the movie. I really am looking forward to the movie, and I'm really hoping it does good. I feel if it fails, it'll just basically prove me right with Bryan Singer, everything I said so far. I mean, of course, they don't want to mention anything he's done recently, so that shows you enough of his ability to direct recently. But I feel if he does good, then I'm happy. I'm happy we're getting a really good X-Men movie. I'm happy for him to be a part of it. Actually prove me wrong and prove that he actually gives a shit. That he sees that other people can do stuff with the characters, then maybe he should step his fucking game up as well. But if it fails, he'll be known as the person who brought X-Men back down to mediocre. I mean, it got elevated enough already. And two good movies came after the horrible X-Men Origins Wolverine. Two really good movies. I really loved them. And he'll just basically kill the speed and momentum they have going, especially considering the fact that Marvel's pumping out grade A quality stuff right now. For him to just lower the standard down for Marvel with his bullshit, it's just be awful. It'll just be awful. It'll just ruin everything for a great cast with an older Halle Berry, which he basically threw back in black. And he didn't do much with the first few movies and stuff, and just really just had her there just for show. Like, he threw her back in there, so it'll just ruin her career, which is already going down the toilet because she did The Call, which is pretty bad. It'll bring Hugh Jackman down back to X-Men Origins Wolverine, which he's been trying to escape. It'll basically have Patrick Stewart in something that's actually bad for a change. Holy shit, right? And it'll just piss off so many fans. It will just piss off so many fans. So please, Bryan, do not fuck this up. I know you made your changes to the storyline. I know you've done certain things to make it fit for where you want it to be and the way you want it to look. I know you love Wolverine so much that he's your main guy, and you're always going to use him as the main force of X-Men for your storylines and all, and your continuity. And he also wants to fix, by the way, speaking of continuity, he also wants to fix certain things that's in the X-Men continuity, which I'm afraid of, because there's so many things that's wrong with the X-Men continuity that I have no idea what he's going to fucking do, what he's going to mess with, or what he's going to try to make fit. So we'll have to see on that. I think personally they should fix Deadpool somehow and set that up for he can have his own movies, and it'll make more sense. Or like fucking do something and finally actually bring in Gambit or something, well, whatever. You know, hopefully they'll do something nice with the time traveling ideal, and we'll see a really good X-Men movie, hopefully. So far, the trailer does slightly impress me. Like I said, the last line was really well delivered, and I feel a lot of parts of it was just bullshit action that I didn't give a shit about. It's always nice to see Wolverine stab somebody, so that's pretty cool. But I'm looking forward to it. I'm also kind of not impressed. I feel like there's nothing he's done so far in releasing, screen, like he's releasing anything from the movie, from set shots to production or anything, production shots from anything he's released so far, including this new trailer that convinced me that this is going to actually be a really good X-Men movie. It may be a good movie, but I'm still not convinced it's going to be a really good X-Men movie. That's my thoughts on the new trailer. Please comment below and let me know what you think. And if you don't agree with me, that's fine. It's just my opinion. And I hope you share yours with me as well. I'm Notorious JIM, and bid you a good day.